Hey guys, this is Mo in the Deep End, and this is possibly the most complicated murder board that I've ever done. That's not a murder board per se. It is, in fact, a pre-trial, pre-murder board, if you were, or post-murder board, pre-conspiracy board. I don't know. We'll have to figure out the wording on a little bit. I have worked with Rhyme Remote. Maybe I'll be slightly better or historically worse. We don't know. It is the Mondayest Tuesday in the entire world. I figured we would start with the actual Tito, Toto, and boobs, the actual gun person people, if you will, of this conspiracy. So let me see if I've got this right. And we will go with them first because we're going to go with the trials that have already started and been won so far. So we have Garcia Riviera and Magda Bueno or Mag Bueno. Look, these people's names. Y'all know I am a nameologist. And as you can see, I am doing awesome at the remote already. You know this. I am a genius in my own mind. Oh, for all the Cheetos in the world, would you just work, sir? And to think I could have gotten the one with a much better remote for $10 more, and I thought, "No, I'm not spending $10 more." Note to self, spend the $10 more. You might want to use it. So we have Garcia, Riviera, and Magdabuena. I think I said that right. Now, they all are connected through Catherine Magdabuena or boobs or titties if you want in this particular thing. Sigfrido Garcia is the alleged shooter, if you will, of our kind of hero and the only good guy in this story, save for Jeffrey Lacasse, who we will explain. But Dan Markel gets his own whiteboard because really I couldn't fit him on the board with everyone else. But these three are somewhat the Larry Curly and Moe of this particular operation of insanity. So you have Sigfrido Garcia, who is Catherine Magdabuena's baby daddy. They were in a relationship. They have two children together. Now, allegedly, according to his defense, he absolutely aided Adelson and would never help him. So the theory that he would help, kill Dan Markel is just silly. However, between Luis Riviero, Tato, and him, Tuto, uh, Luis Riviera is only 5'4", and using physics and other magic math, he was too short to have done the kill shot. So he rode up to Tallahassee with Luis Riviera twice, one to scout Mr. Markle's movements, and one time to kill him. Now, again, the defense tried to play out that, Luis Riviera is a prison snitch. Do not believe anything that Mr. Riviera says. Why are we taking the word of the primero of the Latin kings, if you will? But, you know, he did get found guilty and he is serving a life sentence in Florida prison. Now you go to Tato, because of course we go to Tato. Now, Tato is 5'4". He was, according to the defense, the state, a bad dude. He was the primero, according to the defense, of the Latin kings. Now, the Latin kings apparently have a code of silence, and that could have been why he didn't say anything to the state until it was right up to his death penalty case. And he gave them some information about why he was involved in this conspiracy to kill Dan Markel, a man that, quite frankly, he had no connection to in any way, shape, or form. Now, Riviera was lifelong friends slash, brothers with Sigfrido Garcia. Now, he would do anything for his brother, he said. Now, Sigfrido Garcia was Catherine Magbuena's, baby daddy. So that's how we all know each other from these three. Now, he is possibly not trustworthy. He is also too short to have made the kill shot from physics and other, unfortunate math equations. He did get a deal. So he got 19 years concurrent with his federal RICO charges. Riviera said that Catherine, kind of, I guess, enlisted him to kill Markel, with orders from Charlie Adelson, who we will get to in a minute. Now, they said that this price, all this deal was going to be for 100K. So $100,000, he would help his brother get rid of this Dan Markel, and they were paid in $100 bills stapled into stacks of $1,000. Then we get to Catherine Magbuena, or boobs or titties, if you would like to go with that particular nomenclature, which I find a little bit hilarious. Upper, there you go. Now, she was Charlie Adelson's, I call rental girlfriend. She was doing a lot of, cash bar, I guess, club girl stuff. The way her defense attorney explained it, if you work cash bars, you get a lot of cash money. She was working at a lot of bars. Charlie Adelson was a playboy. He frequented a lot of bars. According to her defense attorney, the only problem that Miss Catherine has is that she has a douche magnetism, that she just will pick if there is 100 guys in a room and there is one douche canoe, she is going over there and she's confessing her undying love. And can you convict a woman for loving an ass? Well, yes, you can, but only after a hung jury the first time. Now, there is also, I failed to mention, a possible link between Luis Riviera, the Latin king, and Charlie because Charlie allegedly, in Minecraft, was juicing up a little bit on the steroids, if you will, and he might have a drug connection to Mr. Riviera to get those steroids and any other illicit substances that one might want as a playboy. I don't know. This is alleged, and I am not a lawyer, so don't come at me, Mr. Addison. Now, she also allegedly was working at a dental office where she met Mr. Adelson, but, somehow they met and they were going to have fun together, but she realized this was not a relationship, this was not a love match, they were not gonna get married, this was only going to be for fun. Now, allegedly, they cooked up this scheme because she knew 2 bad dudes, and he knew a guy that needed some killing, allegedly. And they came up with this idea that these 2 bad dudes could do this job for Mr. Charlie, and it would be taken care of, and they would get the money, and, Tato and Tutu would go out and buy themselves cars, motorcycles, all the fun stuff, imminently traceable after they got the cash. And, Charlie would also hire her at his dental office, but she wouldn't really have to show up. Now, the defense claimed that she, in fact, did show up. Now, again, this kind of explains she was paid by Donna Adelson, with checks signed by her from the dental institute that the family runs. Again, this is a family affair. This, you know, problem solving of the family kind. Now, she was not convicted in her first trial. The defense attorney was actually fairly good. She did bring a little bit of the doubt. But in the second trial, apparently Miss uh, Catherine was not as sure on the witness stand. And, you know, they did have the secretly recorded conversation at the restaurant Dolce Vita that, is quite damning, actually, I guess, according to prosecutors. So I guess that worked against her. When you talk about your conspiracy out in the open and it's recorded, can be a little terrible for you. So the second trial, she was found guilty of conspiracy to murder, and she's serving life in prison. She is also on the witness list for Charlie Adelson's upcoming trial. So let's get to the Adelsons because that's why we're here. Now, who is this Charlie and why is he going to be on trial? Who is this guy? Well, Charlie is a 47-year-old playboy periodontist and is allegedly the mastermind of the plot to kill Dan Markel, his sister Wendy's ex-husband, in order to facilitate Wendy to move down south to Tampa Bay to be close to her family to bring the boys because Dan Markel was not doing the bidding of the Adelsons. He was not going to, just roll over and let the Adelsons take these boys 400 miles away. He was not going to let Wendy just walk all over him in court. He was going to, play hardball a little bit and he was going to fight back. He was not going to let Wendy just walk all over him. And that was not going to be allowed. Oh, no. Now, he suggested paying or possibly killing the FBI agent posing as the blackmailer. Now, quite literally, several days after the killing of Dan Markel, an FBI agent posing as a blackmailer went up to Donna Adelson, the grandmother, or as I call her, Granny Satan, and I think you'll figure out why. Look, I read her for filth, y'all, and y'all can just call me on it, but I am biased. She is downright evil, okay? Came up to her and basically handed her a folded piece of paper and tried to get her to admit that she had something to do with this by stating, "You are helping out my friends, so and so and so and so. And Catherine and I would like you to do this for me." Now, that particular agent, they didn't realize that that was an FBI agent, but Charlie was willing to go to the mattresses, so to speak, to protect his family from the alleged blackmailer. Allegedly. All of this is allegedly until proven in court of law. This man is must be presumed innocent, just like all the Adelsons, no matter how skeevy or downright evil their actions look. Or I think they are. They are all innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. We must remember that. Now, he did have a bit of the roid issue. So he does have a link to Luis Riviera and Sigfredo Garcia that way too, as well. So, he independently of Catherine could have, known these two as well. Now, he did allegedly say he would go National Socialist, against anyone who went against his family. These are things that he said before. He also joked to anyone who would listen, and so did his sister Wendy, that lovely woman who we will get to as soon as we possibly can, that, he inquired quite extensively into getting a hitman at the end of her relationship with Dan Markel, but a TV was cheaper. So, he did also give Catherine a kind of no-show job, which was, a little interesting. He also was recorded in that Dolce Vita, recording that is potentially very damning. So, I have not heard that recording, but it is supposed to be fairly damning to the case and fairly incriminating from what the state has said, and, the state is the state, so we will wait to see that in court because why would we trust the state? But he is supposed to be the mastermind of this. Now there's some reason to doubt that this man would work independently, so let's look at the other players in the Adelson family, and we'll come back to Jeffrey. But first, let's look at the woman who was married to Dan, you know, the woman who started the whole war, if you will. So Wendy Adelson is a lawyer, a former professor at FSU, and she is in immigration law as far as I can tell right now. And that is one of the reasons supposedly that she gave for wanting to move to Miami 400 miles away from where the Markels resided when they were married. Now, she decided that she was unhappy in the marriage and decided to move the children, all their belongings, and everything else, and leave marriage dissolution papers or divorce papers on the marital bed while Dan was out on a business trip. So she went from zero to for zero reason, as you do, and pillaged accounts, heirlooms, and household items, refused to tell where the boys were for about, I think, 16 to 19 days, basically wrote frivolous motion upon ridiculousness, and despite being from a wealthy and affluent family, required Dan Markel to pay her a lump sum and child support for the boys. She did misappropriate funds. She did, use the boys as weapons. She talked extensively with her mother about, using psychological warfare because Dan, as a devoutly Jewish man, would be absolutely, very upset if she were to, I don't know, baptize her sons as Catholic or dress her sons up as Hitler Youth. Now, keep in mind that all the Adelsons are also Jewish. So not only would that be completely disrespectful to Dan, but also to their own heritage. But what does that mean when you're trying to win a legal war? Why put the kids first when you can, show the dad off for some stupid reason? Now, Dan, in the final blow to Wendy's ego, won a motion that basically said, "No, you cannot move 400 miles away," and Dan went on the offensive. He basically wrote a bunch of motions, and he was a better lawyer. He was better trained and, had a better grasp of the law in general, and basically said, Wendy is using the cushion of her parents' affluence to keep filing frivolous and ridiculous lawsuits with no legal merit. And the grandmother is disparaging me to my young boys, and I would like her visits to be supervised. And Granny didn't have that. Now, I don't know if those two things were the final straws, but it seems close enough in time that that's likely what happened. Now, Wendy would tell everyone who would listen about how her brother bought her a TV as a divorce present because a hitman was too much, but he deeply, deeply, he researched it. She claimed to have driven by the crime scene when she was looking for booze. She was very coy and ridiculous on the stand. She would not allow paternal grandparents access to the boys. More on that in a little bit because they got the last laugh, and I'm laughing right there with them because these people need a little bit of karmic justice, if you ask me. Now, she is currently living with mommy and daddy down in Miami. She did also drop the paternal grandparents' names from the boys, so almost completely erasing the father's entire history from the boys' lives, both figuratively and literally. Now, in in possibly the most devious thing I've ever seen, her mother set up a TV repair appointment right at the time that her ex-husband was being shot, and she was telling the TV repairman the joke about her brother getting her a TV instead of a hitman. Now, in the most devious thing I've ever seen in my entire life, let's go to Jeffrey. I wasn't going to include anyone but the Adelsons, but this is too ridiculous and freaking evil to not put up on this board. Jeffrey LaCase, he was an assistant ACL or FSU professor. He is dated Wendy around this time right before the shooting, and he is still alive, lucky for him. He was familiar with the TV hitman joke. Wendy told, um, Charlie he investigated the multiple ways he told him he investigated multiple ways that, he could hire a hitman for the Dan problem, and the cost would be between 15,000 and 50,000, and the comments to Jeffrey seemed chilling and disturbing. They broke up several days pre-shooting. Keep that in mind. Now, here's the most ridiculous and disturbing thing. What did Jeffrey LaCase drive? Jeffrey LaCase drove a light-colored Prius. I forgot to mention that Tito, Toto, and Boobs, um, committed this crime in a light-colored Prius. Now, who does Wendy point the finger to because he was set to travel out of Tallahassee area in a similar Prius? She pointed the finger at Jeffrey LaCase as a disgruntled boyfriend in killing Dan Markel. That's right. They broke up, and it just happens that a light-colored Prius was used in the murder. This is some evil BS right here, but we get to the eviler part. Now, Wendy has never been, charged and/or, you know, accused of anything except for pretty much on the internets.com, if you will. Now we get to Donna Adelson, aka the godmother, aka Satan. Look, I read this woman for filth. I Nicholas and I read some of the emails that this woman sent, and this woman I have no respect for. And y'all can, call me out on it, being petty, but I have absolutely no respect for this woman. I don't. And I'd even bless her heart. Just effing no. So she is granny, mommy dearest. She called Dan, uh, gibbers, effer, bastard, Elvis, any pejorative she could. She is also Jewish. I want you to keep this in mind. Now, she sent constant emails to Wendy to bribe or belittle, Dan, to try to bribe him out of the boy's life. But it didn't start out like that. No, Donna actually helped shop for Dan. Dan met Wendy on J Date, and they were happy for a little bit. You know, Donna actually facilitated their relationship. She picked him out, he was a good Jewish boy, and she, picked him out and said, "Yes, that is the one that, you must marry." She actually cut off contact with one of her sons because he married outside the faith, possibly the luckiest kid of all the group. Now, this woman is evil, and I'll tell you why. In one of her many psychotically long, ridiculous emails, she decided to encourage Wendy over here, Mom of the Year, to use the boys in psychological warfare against Dan. Dan is a faithful Jewish man. Dan likes to observe his faith and grow in his faith. He wanted his sons to do the same. He wanted to share his faith with his sons. And Donna thought, well, the one thing that would really tick Dan off would be to have Wendy start posting that she was going to turn her sons Catholic. And if that didn't spark enough of a reaction, well, could we not get some Hitler Youth outfits on those little boys? Because that surely would turn him into a raging person. All of this to maneuver Dan into a spot where he would accept $1 million to allow those boys to move to Miami and greatly limit his, ability to see his sons. Now, Donna Adelson works with her husband, Harvey, at the Dental Institute. She's been photographed with Catherine Magbuena, although Catherine really doesn't work with them, and I have generally just don't understand how these 2 people got together. She was confronted by the blackmailer and didn't seem shocked as to why anyone would be approaching her. If someone approached me with, "Hey, you had something to do with so and so being murdered, and I'm going to need you to help me with that," I would be like, "Who the hell are you and what are you talking about?" She seemed to be kind of nonplussed, like, "Hmm, interesting, but I'll have to talk to my attorney." Just now, this woman is just evil for all those things. I read her for human trash. I'm sorry, but the fact that these people, all of these Adelsons, are willing to throw these boys around like human Molotov cocktails to destroy a man who just wants to be a good dad, human garbage. Okay, I don't care. I'm sorry. Th That's my line. You don't mess with kids and a man who just wants to be a good dad. This is ridiculous. And you don't kill a man who just wants to be a good dad. Now, she and her husband are being compelled to work with investigators on this case. They have threatened to plead the fifth. The judge has said that if they do that, they might be facing contempt charges. I hope they do. I hope this woman goes to jail. I'm sorry. Let me find my petty patch. Let me find it. I'm going full on petty on them. I don't care. I hope they go petty. I hope she has to eat full on carbs. I hope it's non kosher. I hope all the things. Look, when adults don't put the best interest of children first and start acting like ridiculous children themselves, Imma lose my mind. Now, there's not much about Harvey. Oh, for the love of all that is cheap, damn it. It is still a duct tape and holy water production round here. Harvey Adelson is the grandfather, but it does seem, according to, let's say, stereotypes, the nanny, and, let's just say stereotypes, that, The mother rules the roost in this family. The dad is there, but mom kind of is the one that you go to when you have to get everything clearance through. Dad is there, but mom's in charge, if you get the drift. So he is a dentist. He is head of the dental institute. Mom works there. You know, he was the Leon County ordered them to answer questions during this deposition for this case. He was ordered to appear on the 17th at 1:30. He stands by he and his defense team or his lawyers stand by the fact that this is a fantastical fan fiction of the FBI, that the Adelsons had nothing to do with it, and somehow Toto, Tutu, and Boobs just got in their head one day to get Dan Markel because reasons. Just one day, Boobs decided Dan had to go. That's just all there is to it. That's his stance. And the only good guy, except for Jeffrey LaCase in this case, is Dan Markel. And let's zoom out here a little bit. Center up. Dan Markel, possibly the only good guy in this case. Dan Markel was a Canadian-born attorney and law professor at FSU. Now, he did criminal law, and he was very brilliant. He's written books. I mean, he studied internationally. He earned a JD from Harvard. He was the editor at their newspaper. He studied at both Oxford and Israel. He met Wendy on J-Date, and they got married in 2006, had 2 sons born in 2009 and 2010. And in his mind, they had a good marriage. He had no idea that anything was wrong. He went on a business trip in 2012 and came home to an empty house and accounts all cleaned out. Safe deposit box. His grandmother who survived the Holocaust, her, 2-carat diamond ring was gone. I mean, heirlooms, family heirlooms gone, everything gone. He described it as the sacking of the Visigoth, the Pearl Harbor of their marriage, just ridiculous. And it took about 2 weeks to 19 days before he knew where his children was. His wife refused to tell him where his kids were. Needless to say, the divorce was acrimonious and just litigious as hell. Both of these people were lawyers. Wendy had an endless bankroll to just try to hammer him on the most ridiculous, nonsensical, stupid things she could do. And unfortunately for her, he was the better lawyer. He was better trained and he had the facts on his side. He opposed Wendy moving 400 miles away with his boys because he wanted to be a part of his boys' lives. He wanted stability. He wanted those boys to know who their dad was. He wanted those boys to grow up in the Jewish faith, to have a strong faith base and to be, you know, aware of that their dad loved them. He was a good dad, and by all accounts, except for the a-hole Addisons, Adelsons, sorry, a good guy. He legally outmaneuvered Wendy and petitioned to have the Granny Satan's visits supervised. Now, I don't know if that was the real catalyst for the killing and not the fact that she couldn't move. Dealing with looking at the personality and look, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a mentalist, I am not a psychologist, a shrinkologist, or anything else. I'm a redhead who mouths off on the internet. But I can tell you personality type, if Granny Satan found out that she was going to have supervised visits because she was bad mouthing the dad, that could be enough for Granny Satan, okay? I'm throwing that out there, allegedly, okay? But the court was siding with the dad more than they were siding with the mom, and that was unacceptable to the Adelsons. Again, when you have money and power and that still isn't working for you because the facts aren't on your side, well, then you go to whatever lengths apparently when you are the Adelsons. Now, unbeknownst to him, he was being stalked. He was being monitored. Somebody in his life was telling people his movements. Some people in his life were telling people that he would, generally, when he had custody of his children, would go to drop them off at their school, their preschool, go to the gym for about an hour, and then go on home. He was talking to his mother on the way home from the gym the day he died, got off the phone with her because he was going to call one of the teachers from his son's school because he wanted to talk and keep up with their education. He actually got off the phone with her because he said, "Hey, there's someone I don't know, in my driveway," or something to that effect. He got into his garage and he was shot in the head. And his neighbor came over. He was still alive. He managed to survive, I believe, 14 hours until the next day, and then he passed away. This man was killed because he wanted to be a dad. In the last laugh, and I'm going to leave this here because you know what? I apologize for the cursing, but fuck you, Adelsons. The Markel Act 2022 passed both houses and was signed into law, and it grants more access to grandparents in court proceedings. The Markel grandparents will now have more standing in court to argue for seeing their grandchildren. So, F you Adelsons, and congratulations to the Markels. The Markel family lost their only son, and for many years lost any contact they had with the only two legacies that they had left with their son. And they've been poisoned against their father, I'm sure. But that is what I have for you today. I hope that this has been informative. I may not have gotten all of the facts, and this was pretty quick in the evening. I tried to get a lot. As witnesses come in, I might do, week one, trial boards to try to keep all of this going if you guys would like that. Um, you know, I'm trying my best with these, so I hope they're getting a little bit better. Have I hope that this has made things a little bit more clear. I am working on it. My handwriting is still what it is, but I hope you have had enjoyed this and this has made it a little bit clearer. And please like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Be a little bit kinder to each other. Say one nice thing to someone else. It's a tough life out there. And have a great day. I will see you guys in just a little bit. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon on Nicholas' channel for a review of 2019.